Welcome to InstaOwl's classes. We at InstaOwl believe in democratizing education for one and for all. Welcome students, let's continue studying the outcomes of democracy. Let's see the expectations of democracy. Democracies are expected to produce good governments. So we all expect that our governments are going to be the best governments. They are going to make the policies and the schemes which are the best for our people. This leads to a natural expectation of economic development, means what we want our country to progress. So we are going to expect that of our leaders. However, many democracies have not met this expectation, sadly. We're going to see the performance of democracies in economic terms that can be very disappointing. This has led to concerns about the effectiveness of democracies in driving growth. Now we're going to compare democracies and dictatorships. Dictatorships means only one person rule in a country. Between 1950 and 2000, dictatorships showed slightly higher economic growth rates. You know why? Because it was in these 50 years, there was a lot of, you can say there's a lot of colonization, or there was a lot of independence given. So at such times, at such brinks in time, there have been people who wanted unitary power. That is why there were dictatorships. But we have also seen a slightly higher growth rate here. Why? Because over here, they took straight decisions. There were no assemblies to counteract. There were no people, or there were no generals to even say that you're not doing the right thing. That is why, to give you an example, in the 20th century, we can see during Hitler's time, there was a little increase in the growth of Germany. Why? Because of his decisions and policies. Now we're also going to see another part, that this trend raises questions about the economic efficiency of democracies. Means, if we can see growth in dictatorships, do we really need democracies? The answer is yes. Why? Because dictatorships are often perceived as more effective in economic decision making. But we have data data which says that even if they are correct, or they are faster, or they are effective in decision making, the growth rate of democracies and dictators or dictatorships is not that different. You will see in the next slides the data to corroborate this. The speed of decision making in dictatorships may contribute to higher growth rates. Yes, because there's speed. There is no opposition to dictators. Despite this, growth under dictatorships often comes with significant trade-offs. What are the factors? Economic development is influenced by several factors. These include population size and global economic conditions. Every country is different. Every culture is different. Every demography is different. Every population is different. That is why different outcomes of democracy. Cooperation with other countries plays a very crucial role. National economic priorities also impact development outcomes. These factors affect both democracies and dictatorships equally. So it is not just the politics of a country. Understand that it is the environment of that country, it is the population of that country, it is the demography of the population of that country which affects economies. It is not just politics. Let's see the minimal difference in growth rates. Like I told you, there is not much difference when it comes to comparing the growth. The difference in economic growth between democracies and dictatorships is small. Less developed countries under dictatorships do not significantly outpace democracies. Means what? We can see that the economic growth is not much. Means the difference is not much between dictatorships and democracies. This challenges the notion that dictatorships are always more economically successful. Both systems show similar outcomes in terms of economic development. The advantage of dictatorships in growth is not as large as commonly believed. So we believe that dictators bring a lot of economic growth, but the data says otherwise. No economic guarantee from democracy. Democracy does not automatically ensure economic development. Why? Because this is economics and this is politics. So if you want your nation to grow economically, it is not necessary that it has to be a democracy only. And that is why this chapter is going to teach you how democracy is efficient or it's not efficient when it comes to economic growth. The link between democracy and economic success is very, very complex. Other factors often play a more significant role in driving this growth. Democracies must focus on these factors to achieve economic success. The absence of a guarantee does not diminish the value of democracy. Democracy is a political system, and just because it doesn't guarantee us does not mean that it has any less value. Let's see democracy's broader appeal. Despite slightly lower growth rates, democracies offer other benefits to its people. They ensure citizen participation in governance, voting rights, universal adult franchise that was given to us in 1950. Democracies protect individual rights and freedoms, fundamental rights, Chapter 3 of the Constitution, which guarantees individual rights. They provide mechanisms for accountability and transparency, Right to Information Act, also guaranteed by the law. These factors make democracy a preferred system despite economic challenges. Please look at the screen. This is an illustration of economic growth and income distribution gains in 2000 to 2006. In this picture, you can see that the head and the arms of the person are bigger than the torso. What does this indicate? It indicates that the rich people in a population get more income or more economic success compared to the other classes. If you see the torso is lesser than the head and the arms, and this portion represents the middle class. So this is a difference that you are seeing between the growth and the income distribution. And lastly, the poor people, that is, you can see the tiny legs. This indicates that the poor people are on the lowest rung when it comes to income distribution. So even if your country's growth has a positive success rate, the income distribution is not fair. Now, we're going to see evaluating economic impacts of democracy. What do we see? Passionate debates. Democracy is deeply valued, leading to passionate debates between its members, between politicians in the assembly. Complex resolution. Debates about democracy are not easily resolved, requiring facts and figures. There's a reason our founding fathers, when they were making the constitution, they said that there has to be a debate on everything that is going to be in the constitution. Why? Because when you debate on a topic, you provide facts and figures, and then you reach an answer. Economic outcomes of debate. The debate on democracy's economic impact can be analyzed through evidence, through proper facts and figures, through proper surveys. Democracy and growth. Studies show dictatorial regimes have slightly better economic growth records, especially in poor countries. So in poor countries, if you compare it, you can see slightly better economic success. Let's see the inequality in democracies. High inequality exists within democracies. For instance, in South Africa and Brazil, the top 20% control over 60% of the national income. As you have studied, students, national income is the income of the whole country divided by the number of the population in that country. So when we get a number of the national income, we can see a lot of difference, a lot of disparity. Why? Because it is the top 20%. Top 20% of what? Population. That controls what? 60% of the national income. So it is a handful of people who govern and control maximum money and economic success in the country. You have two case studies of South Africa and Brazil. Better equality in some democracies. Now, we also see that there are some countries. Which countries are these? These are Denmark, Hungary. Now, these countries show better income distribution. Let's see why. Now, we're going to see the rates of economic growth for different countries. In the 50 years that we've seen from 1950 to 2000, we're going to see the types of regimes and their growth rate. You can see that all democratic regimes show 3.95% growth rate. And you can see that all dictatorial regimes show 4.42. So there's not much of a difference, but definitely there is a slight increase. Poor countries under dictatorships also show 4.34%. That is what they're trying to tell us, that poor countries, when they're ruled by dictators, also show the same or similar kind of success. But poor countries under democracy show a slight decrease of 4.28%. Let's look at the screen. Inequality of income in selected countries. Now you're going to see some countries. In this, we can see that South Africa, the top 20% of the population hold 64.8% of the national income. And the bottom 20% of the population holds only 2.9% of the national income. Brazil, the top 20% of the population holds 63% of the national income. That is a lot of money is held by a very small population. Bottom 20% by 2.6%. In Russia also you can see that the top 20% of the population holds more than 50%, that is 53.7% of the national income, and bottom 20% only 4.4%. In USA, 50% of the national income is with the top 20% and 4% with the bottom 20%. In London, that is United Kingdom, you can see 45% of the national income with top 20% of the population and only 6% with the bottom 20%. You can see Denmark and Hungary. Over here you can see that yes, there is some income distribution and a little fair income distribution, where you can see that the top 20%, that is the top 20 population, holds only 34.5% of the national income and 34.4% of the national income, and the bottom 20% hold 9.6% and 10% respectively. Now, what do we see from here? The economic disparities and democracy. We have seen that our expectations from democracies are reduced due to economic disparities. Focus on fair wealth distribution among all citizens. So we expect that our democracies give us a fair distribution of income. Aim for a better life through equal opportunities. Yes, this also, our constitution guarantees us equal opportunities of status and income. And that is why we expect that from our democracies. Economic growth should benefit everybody equally. Question if democracies truly address this inequality. Let's see economic growth versus distribution. Economic growth doesn't always mean equal wealth distribution, like you have seen in the cartoon also, and like you've seen in the data also, that we have growth doesn't mean everybody gets a part of that wealth. Wealth often concentrated among the rich population. A better life for all citizens is not guaranteed by a democracy. Disparities can widen despite economic growth. The key issue is the fair share of wealth for all. In mostly all democracies, you will see that our expectation is that we expect equal income distribution, but the data or the reality tells us that it's the rich people which hold most of the national income. Let's see political equality versus economic inequality. Democracies promote political equality. All individuals have equal voting power. That is what is guaranteed by a democracy. Economic inequalities continue to grow despite economic success. Ultra-rich hold a disproportionate share of wealth. Like I told you, it is the top 20%, which in some countries hold more than 50% of the national wealth. So ultra-rich hold most of the wealth. And the bottom of society, that is the poor people or the low middle income classes, they struggle with even basic needs. What are the basic needs of people? Basic needs of people are food, clothing and shelter. They even struggle to meet these basic needs. Increasing wealth disparities. Disparities means differences. Like you have seen, the ultra-rich see increasing income shares. The gap between the rich and the poor just keeps widening. And decline in income for those at the bottom. Struggles with food, housing, education and health. So what is this chapter telling you? That even though we are a democratic nation, it does not guarantee income distribution. It does not guarantee that everybody is going to get the same amount of wealth. And that is why over here we can see there's a lot of difference. Even if you have political equality, you have economic inequality. People over in the poor classes or in the middle class, the lower middle class or the people below the poverty line even struggle with food. They don't get 2 times food. Housing, nobody has proper houses. Education is far-fetched because if you don't have food to eat, you're not going to go to schools, and therefore your health deteriorates. Economic inequality persists despite having a democracy. Democracies and economic inequality. Democracies struggle to reduce these inequalities. Poor voters are a large constituency. Yes, poor. The poor people get paid for their votes. And that is why they make a large constituency when it comes to elections. And that is why we tell you that even though you have political equality, you don't have economic equality. Governments often don't prioritize poverty reduction. Why? Because poor voters give them votes. Why will they prioritize poverty reduction? If there are no poor left, who is going to vote for them? That is why governments often don't prioritize poverty reduction. Expectations of fairness aren't always met, and situation worsens or worse in some other countries. Please look at the screen. This is an illustration of the voice of the poor, where you can see a helpless poor asking for fair income distribution. This is an illustration of the world's wealth owned by a few. You have seen the data which tells you that the top 20% of the people in a country own more than 50% of the national income. This picture illustrates it. Now, we're going to see managing social differences in a democracy. No society can completely resolve conflicts, that is fights, but democracy helps respect differences and develop mechanisms to negotiate them. So we cannot fight with each other. Why? Because we have mechanisms which make us debate with each other or negotiate terms with each other, and that is why in a democracy it is so important that you have to resolve conflicts between the societies in that democracy. Non-democratic regimes, non-democratic governments often suppress or ignore social divisions, while democracies are better suited to handle these conflicts. In a non-democratic regime where you have a dictator, he is not going to listen to you. He is not going to give you a chance to explain, or he is not going to give you a chance to explain the societal problems to him. That is the reason he suppresses and he ignores them. But in a democracy, you have the chance to speak for yourself. What are the conditions for success? Collaboration between the majority and the minority in a country. Democracy is not just about rule of the majority. The majority must work with the minority to represent the general population. Remember, in any population, we have a majority and the minority. In India, we have minorities based on religion and language, and that is why in our country, the majority of the religion makes them the majority of the population. And if that religion is not followed by others, they come in the minority. Please understand, the majority and the minority is not counted by the people of the population. In India, it is counted by religion and language. So you can be a religious minority or you can be a linguistic minority. That is how in India we represent minorities. Majority and minority groups are not fixed and they can change over time. That is why we don't consider population. Avoiding permanent majority rule. Rule by majority must not turn into rule by a specific majority community based on religion, race or language. That is why the Indian Constitution guarantees you religious minority and linguistic minority rights. Every citizen must have the opportunity to be part of the majority at some point. Exclusion based on birth undermines democratic inclusivity. So in India, we give all our citizens the opportunities for becoming successful, either by money or by representation. And that is why this point tells you that we have to remove any kind of social inequality at birth. Let's see dignity and freedom of citizens in a democracy. Democracy's role in promoting dignity and freedom. Democracy is superior to other forms of government in upholding means supporting individual dignity and freedom. You have the fundamental rights which guarantees the dignity and freedom to every Indian citizens. You cannot discriminate against anybody on the basis of dignity and freedom. Respect for every individual. Every person desires respect from others, naturally, and conflicts often arise when individuals feel disrespected. Very true. Foundation of democracy. The desire for respect and freedom is a fundamental basis for democratic principles. Every person, rich or poor, big or small, deserves to be respected. And the Indian Constitution guarantees that every Indian will be respected. Global recognition of equality. Democracies around the world acknowledge the importance of dignity and freedom, though the extent of achievement varies. Everybody in the world recognizes that they have to give you dignity and freedom, but every country achieves the target differently. Challenges in societies of hierarchy. In societies historically built on subordination and domination, recognizing equality among all individuals remains a complex challenge. So we have seen the history of the world where people or populations have come out of dictatorships, out of kings and queens. They have been demanding a constitution, and that is why naturally giving equality to such citizens is a task for those countries, and that is why it's a complex challenge. Let's see dignity and equality. Dignity of women in democracy. Historically, most societies were male dominated. Long struggles by women have raised awareness about the need for respect and equal treatment as key elements of a democratic society, and that is the reason when we got our constitution on 26 January 1950, women were given equal rights. Legal and moral recognition. While women are not always treated with respect, recognizing the principle of equality makes it easier for women to fight against legal and moral violations. So in a democracy, women have legal backing, and that is the reason they can fight if their rights are violated. But in non-democratic systems, such struggles lack legal support. There is no legal backing, as individual freedom and dignity are not strongly upheld in such situations or such regimes. Caste inequalities in India. Democracy in India has empowered disadvantaged castes, strengthening their claims for equal status and opportunities. There have been historically some castes which have been discriminated against, and they were not allowed to follow a particular occupation or a business. And that is why in the constitution, to remove these caste inequalities, we have empowered them or strengthened their claims by giving them equal status and opportunities. Continued challenges. Though caste-based inequalities and atrocities still exist in reality, they lack moral and legal justification in a democratic setup. Means what? Even in reality, if some kind of caste-based inequality is seen, but politically they do not have any backing. There is no moral or legal justification for that act. And that is why you can stand up for yourself, or they can stand up for themselves when there is a difference. Valuing democratic rights. The recognition of equality and dignity in democracy helps ordinary citizens appreciate and uphold their democratic rights. For ordinary citizens, democracy is very, very important. I keep emphasizing that the fundamental rights is the most important chapter, because people, that is ordinary citizens, get these rights from the Constitution. Let's see expectations and evaluation of democracy. Criteria for judging democracy. The expectations from democracy serve as the basis for evaluating any democratic country. So you've been seeing so many countries with so many different regimes. But how are we going to evaluate democracy? The criteria is by seeing all the factors related to political democracy. We are going to examine continuous examination of democracy. Democracy is constantly tested. As one challenge is addressed, new demands arise, leading to ongoing improvement. So democracy, or the Constitution of India, is not just a book. It is a living, breathing document which can be changed with the changing times in India. So if we have a new problem, you will get a new solution from the Constitution. If we have an old problem, there will already be a solution in the book. And that is why they say that it is constantly tested and is continuously changing. Rising expectations. As citizens receive benefits from democracy, they seek further improvements, pushing for better governance. Now, complaints is a sign of democratic success. Public complaints about democracy indicate success. Reflecting citizens' awareness and ability to critically evaluate those in power means what? Over here, if people can raise a complaint, we have commissions, we have at the center and at the state where you can go and complain if you are not happy. And that is a sign of success. Means what? Means every individual and every citizen has a voice. They have a voice for their opinion. If they are unhappy, they can raise a complaint. And this is one of the key features of success in a democracy. Transformation from subjects to citizens. Who are subjects? Subjects are of a ruler, of a king or a monarch. But now we are citizens. Democracy empowers individuals, transforming them from passive subjects into active citizens, with the belief that their vote influences government and their self-interests. Let's see public expression of dissatisfaction. Citizens expressing dissatisfaction with democracy showcases its success in fostering participation and critical thinking. Like I told you, we have forums, we have commissions where citizens can go and complain, and there can be public demonstrations. If the citizens are unhappy with the government's decision, they can actually pressurize the government or the leading politicians into changing their decisions, making it better for their people. Let's see InstaBytes, what new information we have. Over here we are going to see the belief in voting efficacy across South Asia. Means what? How many of the citizens in South Asia actually believe that their vote matters? Those who say that their vote makes a difference. In South Asia, you have 65% who say yes, voting matters. In Bangladesh, 66%. In India, 67%. In Nepal, 75%, highest. People think that yes, my vote makes a difference. In Pakistan, 50%, and in Sri Lanka, 65%. Let's see InstaLights. Let's revise this chapter. We have seen the economic growth and development in democracies. So we have also seen how the democracies bring us a lot of growth when it comes to economics, but it also has a lot of unfair distribution of income and wealth. We have seen that inequality and poverty in democracies is a challenge which needs to be addressed. And that is why they keep telling us that political equality is not economic equality. Democracy and social harmony. Social harmony, why? Because there are so many different castes, so many different religions, so many different people and populations in the same country that they have to be in peace with each other. And that is why democracy is the best setup which will give you social harmony. We have seen democracy promoting dignity and freedom. Again, fundamental rights, very important. Rights given to each Indian citizen by the Indian Constitution, guaranteeing them dignity and freedom. I hope, students, you've enjoyed studying outcomes of democracy with me and you have understood it thoroughly. I will see you all in InstaAL's next video with another interesting chapter. Please keep watching us. Thank you.